Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Okie dokie. Well, it occurred to me yesterday when I did Packernet After Dark that I left out a couple details or bits of news, forgot to mention. So we got to cover that. Before we get there, however, breaking news, Ian Rappaport, the Bills are hiring Broncos defensive pass game coordinator Jim Leonard as their new defensive coordinator. They have agreed to terms. Big hire for new coach Joe Brady. The former player, Leonard, was coveted. So that's done. We now have this sort of contrasting thing that will be, it's going to go one of two ways. Either Jim Leonard is massively successful and our defensive coordinator is less successful, and it will be used as, a weapon, potentially correctly so, depending on the circumstances, or Jim Leonard will not have a top defense and the Packers will be just fine and it will not be talked about ever again. Those are the two options. It's one of the other benefits of being a negative fan is that you're either right or there was intentional silence there. There are two options. Number one is you're right. The other is, and that's it. Those are the two things. But we shall see how that all pans out. Occasionally, I will remember something like that and go, "Oh yeah, what happened, freaking smart guy?" Steve Cook just sent this, so I don't really know the context. I'll see if I can pull it up. But he says, on his happy hour show, Andy, referring to Andy Herman, said he heard Hobbs is going to get cut. That'll make a lot of people very happy. It also would, again, one of the things that I've said that has annoyed me about this entire process is that I don't know, and it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It's just something that would make me feel a little bit better about the situation, is something that appears to be an acknowledgement of a mistake and something that says, here's where we went wrong and here's how we're going to fix it. And I just haven't seen that, at least not from Matt LaFleur's side. Maybe we're going to see that from Gutekunst in the form of things like this. But that could come in the form of people getting let go. Here is a deficiency. We're going to let this person go, and we're going to find somebody that better suits that role. All the hirings we've done have been because of people that we have lost naturally. To my knowledge, we have not fired a single person. And I don't want to just call for firings for the sake of it, which is why I'm saying that I don't know that they're doing anything wrong. I just don't like that I'm getting the impression that what Matt LaFleur is doing is saying everything was fine, we were injured, let's run it back. Maybe that's the right call, but I don't think so, and it would be cool if there was at least one thing you can identify that wasn't good enough that could be fixed. And I'm sure there's little tweaks, but we've done the tweaks. I always go back to Mike McCarthy saying, we ripped up the whole playbook and rebuilt it from the ground up, and they ran out the same damn playbook. Like, did you consider maybe building a different set of plays in that playbook? Did you just number it differently? Did you use Roman numerals? Like, what did you change? Because nothing is different here. It's like, no, it's not Bisaccia. It's not any of the coaching staff. It's nobody. Everybody's fine. Everybody's perfect. That's not the problem. Okay. Well, what is the problem? Well, it's something we're doing behind the scenes, behind closed doors. Don't worry about it. If that Hobbs thing goes through, what does that tell me? Yes, you could very easily look at that and say, see, he was wrong. And that's true. And that was a bad pickup. And I think Banks is a bad pickup. I'm okay with some mistakes. There's a limit to the amount of mistakes before it's like, okay, this has become too big of a problem. But beyond that, what I need to see is somebody say that was a mistake, and I'm not going to be held captive by that mistake, and that mistake will be rectified immediately. None of this, this pride thing where it's like, no, they're fine. You just don't know how to use them. You just, you need to play him more. He's our guy. Made a mistake. Whoops. Didn't work as well as I thought. He sucks. He's got to go. Again, I don't know that this is going to happen. But These are the kinds of things that I want to see, where you can see the footprint of them going, okay, we're going to cut this, we're going to add this, we're going to fix this, we're going to do that. You can't hardly see anything they're doing behind the scenes, but there are certain things that if you're actually going to, take a sledgehammer to this thing, and maybe that's a little drastic, but if you're actually going to get in there and fix the problems, some of that stuff is going to be things that we can see. Just saying. Anywho, the Vikings made a couple of moves themselves. They went out and got Gerald Alexander as their pass game coordinator to replace the guy they lost. They also brought in Frank Smith to be assistant head coach. Alexander was actually Flores's defensive coordinator back when they were in Miami together. Frank Smith, also a Miami guy. He was the offensive coordinator under Mike McDaniel. So doing a little poaching of the Miami staff. Back to the quarterbacks, talked about how they're both banged up a little bit. Sam Darnold seemingly in a little bit better shape. Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold, oblique injury, is not on the initial injury report for the Super Bowl against the Patriots. He was limited in practice today. Seahawks continue to smartly take it easy, blah, blah, blah. Drake May, on the other hand, Patriots quarterback Drake May, shoulder/illness, which sucks, is questionable on the initial injury report for the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. It's obviously got some time to work through all that, but having an injury and having the freaking flu is not going to be fun. So we'll see. Some minor Detroit Lions news. Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator for Arizona, who is now the OC for Detroit, apparently will call plays in 2026, which I don't know if they feel good or bad about that over in Detroit, to be honest. I don't think they were happy with the play calling situation last year, but they also don't like Drew Petzing, so I don't know. Report from Sportskeeda. People inside the Pittsburgh Steelers organization reportedly expect Aaron Rodgers to be back with the team for the 2026 season. Goes on to say, what I've heard a lot is they are expecting him to come back. They're under the impression that he'll stay and still wants to play. But until you sign on the dotted line, you just never know, especially with Aaron. I think that's relatively self-explanatory, but I'll say the obvious part out loud anyways. I don't think the report means a ton. This obviously has nothing to do with anything Aaron Rodgers has said to anybody. We've heard Rodgers very explicitly give us the details of this process, and he's also laid out very clearly that there is a thing called the inner circle, and none of the people speaking are a part of that inner circle. So they don't know. And they didn't claim to know. But again, we'll say that part out loud anyways. It's still relatively encouraging for those of us that do want him back and want this whole Rodgers to the Steelers and McCarthy thing to be a thing again. It's relatively encouraging that they feel good about it. I mean, it's better than the alternative of them saying, I don't know, I don't think he wants to be back based on the conversations we've had or whatever the case may be. So I'll take that, I guess, as a positive, although this is, 95% a non-report report. And I swear, I feel like I could just go live and do the podcast, because as I'm speaking, I have like 3 things, and then as I give those 3 things, 3 more things have just popped up. This just came across the wire for me. The Cowboys are expected to hire Packers defensive pass game coordinator Derek Ansley, sources tell CBS Sports. Before Green Bay, was defensive coordinator for the Chargers, also been a college defensive. Yeah, we don't need to know all that stuff. So Ansley landed on his feet, not surprisingly. I still do feel like we upgraded. I know that's completely unfair to say because I know almost nothing about either of these guys, but it's kind of like Joe Barry and Jonathan Gannon. You know what I mean? It's similar in one kind of way, except one was successful in doing it and one was not. And what I mean is these guys are similar. And what I got excited about Ansley about is that he's a former defensive coordinator. So he's overqualified, as I like to phrase it. So sweet. That's great. Well, Babich is also a former defensive coordinator, except they had a successful defense when he was defensive coordinator, as opposed to Ansley, who got immediately fired because their defense sucked. So there's that. But still, I'm happy for him. Good on you, Derek. Thanks for your service. In further NFL news, this is a pretty interesting development. And again, it's one of those they'll talk about talking about it kind of deals. But the National Football League will discuss allowing flags to be thrown after video review for player safety fouls during the offseason with a possible vote for the 2026 season. So they'll maybe talk about talking about it, possibly vote about it. We'll see how it goes. And it's only for, again, player safety things. Targeted fouls could include face mask, unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer, use of helmet to the head, whatever, hip drop tackles, all those kinds of things. It's one of those things where I feel like I could very easily see how this could make the product worse, but I've kind of been begging for this. I think we all have, how absolutely frustrating it is that they can all look at review, clearly see that a penalty happened, but then say, oh, that's a non-reviewable play. What do you mean it's non-review? Just call it right. Just call it right. Okay, you're for whatever reason, you're looking at the cameras and you see something, go back and fix it. Now, again, the slippery slope thing is you go back and review something and you're like, okay, so we found 6 fouls on the play. There was holding on this guy, face mask on this guy, hands to the face on that guy, illegal use of hands to the face downfield by your corner over here, defensive. Okay, I get how that could be problematic because there are so many plays, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of the mind that just about anything can be reviewed, should be, and I don't care. You only get so many reviews anyways. But it definitely could get stupid where, you got teams kind of looking out for holding on any given play. So every third down, they're throwing a challenge, and just call any erroneous thing. Maybe you have to specifically, I don't know. Maybe it's stupid. I'm talking myself out of it as I'm talking through it. And again, this is where trying to fix things ends up always making things worse. But I don't know. I kind of want it to be a thing because I hate when something obvious is there and can be fixed and should be fixed, and they go, well, we can't because reasons. We can't because of some arbitrary, probably not arbitrary, but I'm going to call it arbitrary rule that we made up, that we're just not allowed to change our mind even though we can see something happened here. Whatever, dude. Apparently that is the biggest concern is avoiding flags on nearly every play. Challenges, again, having limited challenges is going to be a positive, but you don't want people up in the booth throwing flags on every play because there probably is. Because again, that's kind of my thought is why don't you just have people upstairs that call penalties? Probably the biggest reason is because there are just about penalties on every play. That would be the biggest reason not to do it, which is why I guess they're going to focus just on player safety calls. And then from there is where you kind of track it, right? If this is a good thing, then it's a step in the right direction. But they're going to try it, and if it gets too flaggy, which the NFL already is, so I don't know how it wouldn't be. I guess one of the main drivers of this is the hip drop tackle, the fact that they basically never call it anymore, except on Micah Parsons, apparently. People are frustrated that, instead of calling it, people are just getting fined after the fact, and they're like, bro, call it. Call the penalty. Stop saying, oh, we messed up, and then fining people. But that will be one of the things the competition committee is going to talk about. They're going to talk about that at the NFL Combine, which, again, is why the NFL Combine is so cool. These guys all get together. They kind of chitty-chat all together, all the Ian Rappaports and every little, you got, like, little guys breaking news because they overhear things. You know what I mean? It's such a cool freaking thing. But we'll see if that has any legs. All right, I think everything else is Packers and draft-related, pending any other news that comes up. So why don't we take this opportunity to take a break right here, and we'll be right back. All right, so a couple coaching-related things for the Green Bay Packers. First of all, via Tom Pelissero, the Bills and Packers requested interviews with Cardinals pass game specialist Connor Sanger, who will interview for both teams' quarterbacks coach jobs per source. So obviously we lost our quarterback coach. He went on to become an offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, and so we need to fill that role. This is another Wisconsin guy. He's actually born in West Allis, Wisconsin. He played quarterback at the collegiate level, beginning his career as a freshman at the University of Wisconsin for the Badgers in 2014, before transferring to the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh Titans, where he contributed to the 2015 Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Championship team. He graduated from UW Oshkosh in 2017 with a bachelor's in political science and a minor in history. Same year, he decided to get into into coaching, and became the quarterbacks coach for UW Oshkosh. He helped quarterback Brett Casper earn the Gagliardi Trophy as the top player in NCAA Division III. He then was the quarterbacks coach and camp coordinator at Carroll University in 2018, followed by a stint as running backs coach at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, during which the Warhawks finished as NCAA Division III national runners-up. Then 2020 to 2021, offensive quality control coach at North Dakota State University. In 2022, Singer joined the Arizona Cardinals through the Bill Bidwell Coaching Fellowship, assisting with quarterback development. He was promoted to offensive quality control coach. What a crazy thing to be a quarterback, and then the same year you're a quarterback coach, and then you go to Whitewater, and then you get bumped up to NDSU, and then all of a sudden you're on the Cardinals. Like, what the heck? He was the offensive quality control coach in just 2023. He was nothing just yesterday. It's always very impressive when guys can do that. Also relatively well-rounded in that very short period of time. He did running backs. He also coached the wide receivers for the American team at the 2024 Senior Bowl. And then 2025 is when he got his pass game specialist job, potentially getting a quarterbacks coach job. We'll see what happens there. And again, being a Wisconsin guy, what a cool thing it would be for him to be able to come back and be that here. Then there's the linebackers coach who, as I mentioned on Packernet After Dark, I thought I talked about him, but then I realized I don't think I did. Another Wisconsin guy, American football linebacking coach for the Green Bay Packers, previously served as defensive coordinator at Virginia Tech, linebackers coach in the NFL for the Arizona Cardinals and Minnesota Vikings as defensive coordinator for Wisconsin Platteville. He went to high school in Oconomowoc, went to college at La Crosse. He was a cornerback at La Crosse in 2011. The very next year, he was a student assistant at La Crosse. 2013, he was an S&C intern at Air Force. The next year, he goes to Florida International as defensive quality control coach. The very next year, he goes to Wisconsin as a graduate assistant. The next year, he goes to Platteville as a defensive coordinator. Pretty big jump. He does that for 2 years. Then he goes to Wofford, however you pronounce it, as defensive coordinator / linebackers coach. Does that for 3 years. Then he goes to the Minnesota Vikings. He is a guy that's worked under Zimmer during that period in 2021, defensive quality control coach. It's not the same time period as what you had with our defensive coordinator, whose name is escaping me, but there is that familiarity there. Then in 2022, assistant linebackers coach, again for the Minnesota Vikings. 2023 and 2024, he is the linebackers coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Gannon is his name. He was Gannon's linebackers coach in Arizona. So it was kind of like that. We had talked about potentially their defensive coordinator coming over to be our linebackers coach, whatever. Instead, he gets his old linebackers coach. Now, he did go to Virginia Tech for a year to get the defensive coordinator job there, with hopes of maybe taking that jump to defensive coordinator in the pros. That obviously is not happening quite yet, but he's going to jump back into a linebackers role for the Green Bay Packers. Not a terrible thing. Probably feel pretty good about working for Gannon again, knowing how successful he was in a better situation. You probably feel pretty good about the linebackers we have here, especially considering there is a guy that was our linebackers coach not very long ago that after 1 year went on to be a defensive coordinator, and then the next year was getting head coaching looks. So probably feel pretty decent about that situation, even if Arizona wasn't the greatest. Now you've got a defensive coordinator thing under your belt at Virginia Tech. You just need to do a good job in Green Bay, and hopefully he can do that. It's kind of hard. I was gonna do the whole deep dive thing. He's not a defensive coordinator. There's no point looking at like his coaching style or any of that kind of stuff. Not really, because his job is going to be to implement Gannon's defense. That's what all these guys' roles are. He may bring a little bit of I don't know, something here or there, but ultimately that's his only job, is to bring Gannon's defense to life. Also, Virginia Tech, really not a very good group of players, defenders. I went to go look at like the NFL draft, find out which Virginia Tech guys are going to. There's nobody in like the top 400, so it's not exactly a powerhouse of players. Period. Much less defenders. But needless to say, the Virginia Tech defense was not exactly stout under his 1 year. So there's nothing to glean from that. The only other thing that I thought was funny. And again, I'd mentioned this on Packernet After Dark, but I don't want to overplay the whole energy thing or whatever, and maybe he has a ton. I don't know. You go make your own determinations. Go over and watch him on YouTube talk, and just go look at the guy and tell me that this is somebody that you're going to get these freak athlete monsters to get excited about. It just made me laugh. Because it feels like, here we go. It feels like the more we as a fan base push for go get like this mean, grizzled old, crazy person with one eye to just scream at people, the more they go get these like pencil neck accountant looking guys. And if you haven't seen him, I said he is a cross between Toby and Gabe from The Office. And I actually did a mashup of those two guys. And it's him. It's the same guy. Another guy, as I said, you can throw in there is Nate. Looks a lot like Nate. Tall, skinny, balding, soft-spoken. Dude needs to just shave his head, grow a beard, start eating tacos to put on some weight. You know what I mean? Get a little bit of a gut going or something. Start smoking cigarettes to kind of like grizzle up that voice. I don't know. These are just suggestions. You do whatever you want. Point is, I know some of you are going to say, yeah, but is he one of the... I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and guess no. And then on the NFL draft side, I thought this was quite funny. In the spirit of stereotyping, one of the things that I think Packer fans, probably everybody, but I know Packer fans and myself certainly seem to appreciate, is a big white dude with a mullet, or just any kind of like crazy hair. Sean Ryan kind of fell into that category a little bit, but not quite enough. And since he's not panning out very well, I'm going to say he doesn't make the cut. But a big frickin' giant dude with a mullet is somebody I just want. You add a mustache to that, yeah, give me that guy. Give him like a little bit of red hair. I mean, take Tucker Kraft and make him bigger and a lot bit more of a redneck. Looks like Tucker Kraft's, older brother. It's just automatically going to get me excited. Then you tell me he's an offensive lineman from Iowa, right? Midwest, cornbread kind of guy. Again, like salt of the earth, Tucker Kraft type of guy. Like, all right, I like it even more. Let's go. There's everything to like. I want to play a little clip for you here. Here he is. They're doing some interviews over at the Senior Bowl. Here's a couple guys sitting down with a guy by the name of Jennings Dunker, which, just the name even of itself, it's just this lunky sounding name. And that's what I want. Just this big lunking, just freaking blob of muscle that, it all fits. It all makes sense. Just listen.
And he became kind of famous during college career for a variety of different dietary habits that you have. Can you take us through down to down, whether it's in a game or practice, and the way that you continue to fuel yourself?
Yeah, so like in the mornings before practice at Iowa, we'd have like refuel sandwiches. I don't know how many calories those things are. They're a decent amount. It's probably like 700. And then, if we worked out, we'd have a Core 26 and then a protein shake. But yeah, I mean, that plan came from my dietitian, so that's where I got that. I would get a PDF every week, and then it would have like specific ounces of food I'm supposed to intake and different hydration packets I'm supposed to have. So that's kind of a week-by-week thing. But the Culver's was mine. I put that in after. I love Culver's.
What is it, Culver's?
Culver's.
What's Culver's?
You never been to Culver's?
He's not from the Midwest.
Yeah,
I live in Minnesota. He lives on the East Coast.
That's a crime. Are you serious?
I mean, I'll visit one day.
Jennings Dunker aiming. We thought he was going to get a Dunkin' Donuts ad. He's aiming for a Culver's ad.
That ain't right. Yeah, you got to go. You got to check it out.
They have one in Mobile, apparently. We should have done this interview at a Culver's.
You got to check it out. I'm telling you.
You got to fuel the body. It's
Dude, he is... He wants to throw the guy in jail for not knowing about Culver's. And it's just an abject disbelief the entire time that a human being doesn't know what Culver's is, which is such a fantastic stereotype for this East Coast elitist media figure. What is Culver's? Bro, don't you travel all over the world all the time, acting like you've been locked in some kind of an East Coast bubble? Anywho, beneath that is this little graphic here of Jennings Dunker. There is a quote that says, "It's not fun. I have a giant gut going into the game," talking about his pregame eating. Then there is this little schedule here. Night before 11 a.m. kickoff, 5:30 p.m., 2 to 3 servings of pasta with red meat, marinara sauce, couple of bread rolls, 12 ounces of steak, 2 servings of fruit. 8:30 p.m., 3 hamburgers, 3 bags of baked Lay's chips, drip drop hydration mix, and hot chocolate. On game day, 7:15 a.m., 4 pieces of toast, 2 bowls of Wheaties, a couple pancakes, 2 chicken breasts, 24 ounces of water, and drip drop hydration mix. At 9 a.m., so like an hour and a half later, 4 pieces of toast and a chicken breast. 10:15, another hour and a half later, Morton Gel, Honey Stinger Energy Waffles and Chews and drip drop hydration mix. Throughout the game, Powderade water, Honey Stinger waffles and chews. At halftime, Morton Gel, Honey Stinger Energy Waffles and Chews. Post-game meal at Culver's, double bacon cheeseburger, family size, order of cheese curds and onion rings, and 3 sides of ranch. America. A couple other fun little facts since we're on the topic. Let's explore Mr. Jennings Dunker. I mentioned he has red hair, but it's not just that he has red hair. He apparently has been called, this is apparently some kind of a nickname of his, a weapons-grade ginger. Oh, that's beautiful. A weapons-grade ginger, thanks to his fiery red hair and sports a majestic mullet. He apparently is from Lena, Illinois, population of around 2,800, 3-star recruit out of Lena Winslow High School. Well, we got to pull up his PFF. 4 years at Iowa. First year doesn't really count, only played about 180 snaps. He split between left and right guard. In his second year, he got moved to right tackle. That is where he's been for the last 3 years. In his first year, 2023, he had a 70 grade, 65 run blocking, 75 pass blocking, pretty standard Packer stuff. Then he figured out how to run block. In 2024 was his best year, 90 overall, 90 run blocking, 76 pass blocking. In 2025, 82 overall, 80 run blocking, 77 pass blocking. So the run blocking's been all over the place, but the last 2 years it's been 90-80. The pass blocking has been consistent and also slightly getting better, 75, 76, and 77 over those 3 years. He's a freaking powerhouse, 6'5", 315. I don't think, let me see. Yeah, Jennings Dunker is currently consensus 38, which means he's probably a reach for us to grab in the later rounds. He also is listed as a tackle. The Packers do like their versatile guys. They like to draft tackles that they can kick inside and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure he could probably figure it out, but he's probably just going to be a right tackle, and he's probably going to be gone before we pick. Both of those facts being sad, considering I'd like a guy like that to be as an interior offensive lineman. But either way, that is a name that we should know, and hope that potentially will fall to the Packers. I just want to see if anyone's talking about him playing inside. I guess a lot of people are actually wanting him to kick inside. So keep the dream alive, folks. Keep the dream alive. Jennings Dunker. It wouldn't be a shocking trade up either. I mean, we traded up way to the top of the second round to get Christian Watson. Just saying. All right. I hate to do it. I'll spare you the excuses. I just have Nate in the back of my mind scolding me because I have so much time on my hands now. Needless to say, it's 10 o'clock at night, and I have been working all day. I'm going to leave it at that, actually. I'm not going to do another segment. We could, but I got to get going, putting the kids to bed and everything. So I'll leave you with that. Tomorrow, we will talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl, the actual game that took place, and all that good stuff. And we'll see what the situation is with some of the news and notesies. Otherwise, you all have a great weekend. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Get your calls in, by the way. Let's get those ramped up for tomorrow. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.